So when I'm multiplying, I multiply these just like I would any other numbers. So we kind of treat them like a variable a little bit in the equation. When we're adding and subtracting, if they're the same radical, we can add them together. And we just look at the coefficient when we're adding. When we're multiplying, we just look at them, we're multiplying like normal numbers. So 7 times 5 is just simply 35. And the only thing 35 can divide by is 7 and 5. So neither one of those they're not squares. So we're not going to take a square root of that. So this is just going to be the square root of 35. We can't do anything else with it. There's no other simplification there. All right, so continue. All right, so now we have 12 times 6. And 12 times 6, that's going to get us a little bit bigger number, right? So, and they're both even, so I know I'm at least going to be able to take something else, because I know there's 2 in 12 and there's 2 in 6. There's a 3 in 12 and there's a 3 in 6 also. So I know that there's multiples of each. So I'm going to end up with 72 here. So with this one, and I can go through the numbers, and so which ones do I think that it divides by? If I didn't know, because this one does divide by 36. If I didn't know that, it was 36 and 2. I could have done 4. So I could have done 4. So divided by 4, and that gets me 18. Divided by 9, and that gets me 3. So the square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 9 is 3, like that. So, and I would have had 36 and 2 up here. Oh, sorry, this should be a 2, not a 3. I'm losing my mind. So I would have had 36 and 2 up here. Well, the square root of 36 is 6. So either way, I still would have ended up with the same thing. I just need to understand how to kind of pull these pieces out. So once I have a square from my list, I like to circle it just because it shows me okay, this is my square. I'm identifying it. And the square root of that number is 2 for 4. It's 3 for 9. And I have to multiply each one that I take out. If it's left behind, I don't multiply that. So this would be 6 square root 2. So let's see, we have 2, and I need to put, oops, why is there 0 there? 6. All right. Continue. So now we have 15a and 5a to the 7th power. So same thing, we're going to multiply these together. So 15 times 5, that gets me 75. So 75, and that's still under the square root. And then a times a to the 7th. Remember, these are rules when we're doing exponents. If I have the same base, I add the exponent. So it's a to the 8th power. A to the 8th power. All right, so 75, if I go down my list here, that can divide by 25 3 times. 25 is a square, so that I'm going to get to take out 5 there. And then this is even. Remember, I'm dividing by 2. So if I divide this by 2, I get a to the 4th power. Remember, that's coming out, so that is the square that I'm going to take out of. So when we have an exponent or a variable with exponents, we divide by 2. That's how many we can take out, and then the leftover is what's behind there, the odd number. Which theoretically, if it's 2, it should only be 1 left over at any point in time. We shouldn't have any more than 1 left over, because then we can take out, a whole other square root. All right, so this would be 5 a to the 4th power square root 3. Because remember, this 3 was left behind. So that doesn't come out of the square root sign there. So let's see, we have 5a to the 4th power square root 3. Check. All right. Keep moving through here. Okay. So now we have root 20, x to the 6th, y to the 5th power times 5x, y to the 3rd. So let's go ahead and combine them. 20 times 5, that's 100. Right? 20 times 5, it's, if we even count by 2s, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So that's definitely 100. And then x, we're going to add the exponents together. This one's a 1, this one's a 6, 7. And then y, we have 3 and 5, so that's 8. So here's our new problem. 100 is a square root. So this just comes out as 10. Remember, we're going to divide by 2. 7 divided by 2, that's not going to be a whole number. So if it's an odd number, take one away and divide by 2. So if I go back to 6, that divides by 2, I get 3. And I have 1 left over here. So I'm going to have 1 left over. This I'll just show it up here because I brought this one all the way down. And then 8 does divide by 2, so that's going to be to the 4th power. So let's go ahead and write this a little bit nicer. Y to the 4th. So these are all pieces I took out. These are all square roots. The only thing left over is this x. That is the only thing left underneath there. Everything else got taken out. X to the 3rd power, y to the 4th power, and x. Oops, not xz. All right, so with this one, I'm kind of making that foot a little bit exaggerated. So we have 50x 11 to the 11th and z to the 8th power. So 50 is also not on the list. It's between these two guys again. But 50, that can divide by 25 and 2. 25 has a square root of 5. 2 does not, so that's going to get left under here. Now I have to deal with these x's, and I'm going to remove this just for a minute. I'll put this on there at the end. So with these ones, every 2 times I multiply this, that's a square. So saying x times x is the same thing as saying x squared. And the square root of this would just be x. So I want to know how many 2's are in here. So I can even count, by 2's, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So there's 5 of them. So I can take out x to the 10th, and that's going to have a square root of x to the 5th because I divided by 2. I do have 1 left over that I can't do anything with because remember there's 11 of them. So same thing here, I'm going to divide by 2. And in this case, dividing by 2 actually just gets me straight down to a square root because there's nothing left over. It's just z to the 4th power. So that is the square root there. So these pieces are the square roots. I've taken them out. So I have 5, x to the 5th, z to the 4th power. The only thing left behind, and I'll circle it in red so we can kind of see it, we have a 2 and we have an x. So we have 2x underneath there. So this is how we're going to type it up. So let's see, we have 5x to the 5th, z to the 4th, and underneath here we have 2x. All right, let's check that guy and keep moving here.